Hey everybody, well we're back here on the couch and we're talking to Luke about all things Rio and maybe a few other things as well. So, hi Luke.
Hey, how you going?
And of course, well, some of you, I don't know how many of you realise that Luke was doing live shows which I was putting on my GoJo Media Jeff Facebook page. So when Luke loaded them up to his Facebook page, then I just copied them across, and some of you were enjoying those. I don't know how many of you, but maybe Luke, you could tell us about the live shows and what you were telling everybody and showing everybody.
Well, part of being away sometimes is it's a way to help connect with friends and family back home. So
Yep.
I kind of just put them up there and in a way just to say this is what I'm doing. I'm not just partying, because Rio's known as a bit of a party town.
Yep.
But so it was a case of, this is where I'm working, this is what I'm doing every day. And for those that were awake at the time, it was a sense of, you get the sense of when's morning over there.
Yeah.
So you get a sense of the time difference. For those that were able to participate live, and then for those that obviously watch the videos later, it's just a chance to feel a bit connected, a bit closer than just watching whatever game happened to be shown on,
Yes.
7 for those that are in Australia.
Yeah, now bringing up the channel, because I
Yeah.
had a few people ask me, who were you actually working for? Because in Australia it's presented as that you're working for Channel 7. You would not know that you're working for actually somebody else. And of course, for the rest of the world, they're seeing your vision presented by the BBC or NBC or whoever. So how did that all work out? What was going
So
on?
basically, I work for a company that is an Australian company, but it's not Channel 7. It's not a network. It's it's a company called GForce.
GForce.
Yeah, and that's run by a guy called Greg Clark, who's very involved in particularly Australian television, but also does stuff for Asia and obviously the Olympics.
Okay.
So he organises all of the aquatics, basically. So swimming, diving, water polo, sink swim. He crews all of those events.
Okay, so all of the events at the Olympics would have a separate company like that doing like the athletics?
Quite often, and in this case, that company is then run by another company called OBS,
Okay.
which is Olympic
They're
Broadcast
the Olympics.
Services, I think.
Yeah,
They're
that's
not
the
officially.
athletics.
They're still not officially Olympics,
Okay.
but they cover. This is my understanding. I may be incorrect, but my understanding is they cover many more sports.
Okay.
Maybe they cover all the sports through, but they're the broadcast side.
Okay.
But my understanding is that's still a company that is working for the Olympic Committee.
Okay, yeah.
So
okay.
it's like you're working for a company that's working for a company. But
okay.
so GForce looks after the aquatics,
Right.
but the OBS would have other companies that they would hire that would then look
Okay.
after other.
So all of those companies then work for the IOC, the International
Yes.
Olympic Committee, whatever it's
Yeah.
called, and then the IOC negotiates with each country, and the networks within those countries compete to get a contract with the IOC, something like that.
Yeah, my understanding is that the networks. So each there is a name for them, and I can't think what they actually call it. But basically, the rights holders. So
Okay.
you buy the rights to show the Olympics.
Okay,
And
yep.
I'm pretty sure you get that from the IOC,
Yeah. Okay.
and then they on sell that, or they
okay.
give that to
Yep.
OBS to do as a contract. OBS then contracts other companies to fulfil certain aspects of
Okay.
that. So it's
Wow.
all, yes, there's
Okay.
a lot involved, but it's
Yeah.
also, there's a lot of people. I
Yeah.
think there was over 1,000 people. No, it was much larger than that. It was like 100,000 people over there just working on the broadcast.
Really?
Yes. And they have what they call the IBC, the International Broadcast Compound.
Right.
And that is it's a massive facility,
Right.
and that is just for bringing in all the different feeds from the different venues,
Okay.
and then they get output over various different streams for the rights holders to be able to get access. And the rights holders generally will be recording as many of those streams, if not all of those streams,
Yeah.
in order to get all of the various different sports that they can.
Yes, right.
So it's quite complicated, and there's a lot of people involved in order to get what might seem like a relatively simple broadcast to air.
So Channel 7 and other networks around the world would have had like news crews in there.
They would have had their own news crews, their own reporters.
Okay.
But they don't have control over, obviously, well, the sports happen when they happen. So they're already scheduled. Everyone knows when they're going to happen.
Yeah.
So they'd be able to map out a broadcast schedule saying, okay, we know we're going to have swimming tonight. We know there's going to be rowing. There's going to be beach volleyball.
Yep.
So they'd be able to map out what sports they think are going to be popular. They know when they're going to be on air.
Okay.
And they map out how they think a night is going to go.
Okay, so say for example there's a Channel 7 news crew at a stadium, at the diving. Are they actually allowed inside the venue with their gear, or is it some kind of IOC official group that has to do that filming, and Channel 7 is sort of on the periphery of that?
So Channel 7, they may be able to get into a certain point.
Okay, like for interviews after they've...
Generally, there would only be certain points, certain places that they'd be allowed to go.
Okay. Yep.
They certainly weren't allowed to just put a camera wherever they wanted.
Okay.
But there were specific points, say for news, that they might be able to put a camera, but they wouldn't have been able to put like a reporter there.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
But the other thing they could do is there was a special spot before and after each broadcast.
Right.
Where they could do a hosting from, and I presume they probably could have done an interview.
Right.
Pardon me, if they were able to get whoever the athlete was.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but we only did a couple of those crosses for any of the sports that I was involved in.
Yes.
That wasn't really a popular thing. I think more often than not, a journalist would do something outside of an arena.
Okay.
So they were probably more likely to go to the exterior of arena, do a piece there.
Okay. Yep.
And then link it all together with footage that they
from
got
you guys
from us.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting.
And it's one of the reasons, like with my videos, I was very careful not to show.
Yep.
I showed a monitor a few times, and I know was at one point grabbed the camera and showed the diving area.
Right.
But we really, people can go into the venue with cameras. No one was stopping anyone going in there with a camera. But for us to show a diver. Would be a big thing. So we're very careful just to kind of go, this is what we're doing. But in terms of showing any competition, that really is,
right. So like is it a bit like the football here, like.
If someone look, anyone could go in there with a camera and show the game from their perspective as a punter.
Yes.
But really, like 7 have the rights, and if someone was doing that to the point where 7 felt like they were losing viewers, then 7 probably would go to a YouTube channel or or whatever it was and say you need to stop.
Yeah, I've heard that happening with the tennis. Where videos will be taken down, because of a claim made by a TV channel.
Well, you've got a television network paying millions and millions of dollars.
Yes. Yep.
For the rights, and then they're losing the rights. And the other side of it too is that for the tennis, for the Olympics, they also have a standard that they want to uphold, and that's actually a massive part of what happens. We actually, like for the diving, for the water polo, for sink swimming, and for the swimming, each event had a practice day in which all of the important people were watching our practice go to air. It wasn't going to air. It was just an internal practice. So they would watch it, and they would either give it a tick of approval,
Yeah.
and for us that was done each time.
Right.
But they might say, look, we need to fix this, we need to fix that.
Okay.
And I think like we all went into Rio with the expectation that we had from London to go, oh, this, the venue will be amazing. Rio had a lot of problems. Some of the places weren't ready to go, and even when we got there, we spent a lot of time waiting for things to be ready, and also just getting things in place that in London we didn't have to do.
Right.
And that's it's not having a go at Rio as a place. It's just it functions differently. It's not a I don't know if, I don't want to be harsh, but it's not a first world country in the way that I saw it.
Yes.
So it has the problems that come with not having the finances to put behind something and solve the problem with money, which for a Western culture we can often just do that. You can just solve the problem, you get more people in at the last second, and it all just comes together. So so it was just different. It was a different experience.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why the pool turned green. Because the person that was cleaning it, they'd been doing all the work beforehand.
Right.
But then they...
so there's an explanation, is there?
There is, yeah. And, well, look, I can't... I've heard what I believe is what happened, but you never know.
Right. Okay.
But my understanding is the person that was cleaning it in the lead up to, actually, it was their time to have holidays. So
oh, wow.
And that's, again, like for us, we would say, you don't take your holidays before the Olympics. You just you save them for afterwards.
Yes,
but obviously, culturally or for whatever reason, it was just it's time for him to have a holiday, so he went and had a holiday. But I think also that the feeling was we've done the preparation beforehand, so it'll be okay. But then. There were some issues with the filtration system where it started to leak. So then they were losing water out of the pool, and then because they lost enough water out of the pool, the filtration system didn't work anymore because there was no water going into the system because they'd lost too much water. So they hired someone else to come and clean it, but his pole wasn't long enough to reach the whole way across the pool. And then so you're dealing with it's very different issues that you just would never deal with.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. But so the reason it turned green was they obviously realised, okay, the water's slowly getting worse.
Yes. Yeah.
In the few days leading up to competition, so I think they hired someone else. Again, this is I think, and then it's either going to make a really good story or it's the truth. So,
do you want to come up with conspiracy theories?
No, but evidently there's another type of way to. So you've got salt water, you've got chlorine. And you've got another one that's a organic cleaning product.
Okay.
But the one thing they say with that product is never use it when you've got chlorine in the pool already.
Oh, okay.
So we had a chlorinated pool that then this stuff went into, and basically when you do that process, you basically just create a pool that is going to grow algae.
Okay.
So, and we watched it happen in front of our eyes. We went from a pool that we thought, well, that's a little green. It's starting to go a little green. And then within a matter of a couple of hours, it went really green.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's the only explanation that I've heard so far that explains why that change happened.
So it was actually algae.
Yes. Yeah. Now, it was tested and it was supposed to be safe for the divers.
Yes.
And probably the thing that happened was then they went, well, what have we done? Well, okay, we've got chlorine in the pool, so let's just shove more chlorine in the pool. And it literally was the divers were diving and they were keeping their eyes shut under the water.
Yep.
In order to not be affected by the chlorine, not have eye burn. But there was a diver that went in who was looking after some of the underwater cameras who came out and said their skin was sore from being in the water for too long. So that's how much chlorine they'd put in to fix the problem. Right. But it needed to be fixed. And by the end, like for the last week, the pool was clean.
Yeah, okay.
But there was quite a few days there where we couldn't really use the underwater cameras. They just unless people come right up.
Yep.
But look, it's just one of those things that happens.
Yeah.
You go, okay, it's the Olympics, but even sometimes what you think is, where everything's supposed to be perfect and it's meant to be the pinnacle of competition. It's still the pinnacle of competition.
Yeah.
And particularly for people that dive, like this really is the only time they get to compete.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing, and everyone wants to get it right.
Yep.
But sometimes things just go a little bit wrong, and
sometimes more than a little bit wrong.
Yeah. So you do what you can. For the divers, they dive into a green pool. For us, we continue to shoot it and do the best job we can. And you don't want to highlight a problem, but sometimes these things happen. So you just got to live with it.
Thanks, guys, for watching. If you've got some questions that you'd like to ask Luke about the Olympics, then write them in the comments below, and we'll come back again and work our way through those questions also.
Yeah, I probably can't answer much more than the green pool theory, but anyway.
Even some tech questions, maybe.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you again very soon. Bye.